And so I want to tell you a little story. So imagine this. It's the morning of Christmas. It's supposed to be a great time, right? So you've got this vacation coming up that you're gonna leave and you're gonna go to this magnificent place, but all these things on Christmas Day, super exciting. You got your bags packed, everything. You head to the airport, you get to the airport, you check in, all excited, you get on the plane, and then all of a sudden when you're on the plane, everything just closes in around you. It feels like somebody's sitting on your chest, they won't get off. You've got this horrible feeling that all you know is you need to get off of that plane, that you are freaking out. And you can't figure out how to even make sense of it. How can you be fine just a couple minutes ago, and then all of a sudden, like a snap, you're just out of control? And somehow you can't get off the plane because now it's all locked up, it's time to go, and you're in this thing for the whole ride that's going on. And so you manage to make it through the trip. You get to the place where you're headed, to the airport. You get your car. You're driving through California in this nice Mustang. You're heading to the Disneyland, to where your destination is, right? So you get to Disneyland. You think that part is all done, that somehow that was a fluke. It was a tight spot and it's over. But you go into Disneyland, you're sitting there and you get in line to do some rides. And then all these people start kind of gathering in this line to do this. And here it comes again. You start freaking out again. And next thing you know, you're like, I gotta get out of here. And so you're climbing over rails, you're climbing over people, you're trying to get as far away from the spot that you can get. And all you know is that every time you're in these areas and all this stuff it's just ruining everything that you had dreamed for this vacation. You had all these expectations, everything that you thought this was going to be the great time for Christmas Day, and it ends up ruining Christmas Day for you. I tell you this story because this is what happened to me. It's what happened to me just a few years ago when I had anxious feelings, anxiety, and I was just beginning to start to have the issues, but I thought that they were gone and I didn't know. And so a couple years ago when I got that, I had the choice of two things, and I knew nothing about this kind of stuff. But what I knew is I didn't want to live with this kind of an issue. So I worked and worked and worked to try to figure out solutions to conquer anxiety. And most of you may have already known my story from before, when I've told my story from the past, even beyond this Christmas vacation. So, but what I wanted to do in this video is, it's been a little while since I've been on, and I wanted to give an update and talk about a few things I learned through my journey of trying to control anxiety. And so today, I'm happy to say is, I don't think you can ever say you're anxiety free, because anxiety is good in all kinds of ways. Anxiety is good for us to tackle certain tasks at work, to get certain deals done sooner. And so sometimes it's a good part of an anxiety, but not when we take it so far that it controls our life. And so even anxiety now, for me, what it looks like today is it might be that I get somewhere or I start to feel something come on, but I've learned techniques and strategies how to control it. And it doesn't bother me in this time. So today I'm able to, this summer I went to Italy, took 8 airplanes to get there, and between going there and coming back, 8 airplanes. So, but on those trips I had no problems. Nothing bothered me as far as that. Being in cars, I used to not be able to sit in a car with other people. I had to be the person to drive, or I couldn't do something. Now I don't have that problem either. So I've learned how to manage these things through some ways of processes of thinking, through using some natural remedies to also get through. So, but today, like I say, is I want to share my story so maybe I can help out with somebody else that might be struggling in this situation. So the main things that I learned through going through anxiety was I learned that I had to acknowledge the situation that I was in. You see, what I learned through this whole process is that sometimes we have an issue or a problem and we get involved in it, and then we get kind of, we get addicted to our problems sometimes, and we don't look outside of it. And so we sometimes hate to admit what our weaknesses are. And I find that in a lot of things with people. But I learned how to be true to myself with anxiety. And I learned that I had to acknowledge that I am in this situation right now. I never thought that I was going to be in it for how long. I didn't know the time frame it was going to take for me to be. But I had to acknowledge it and identify it. And I remember one time I heard Tony Robbins say is you have to identify your problems, but then you have to give your power and your energy to the solutions. And that's what one of the things is that I think I took on, and I did. I identified the problem, and then I started trying to think of and give my energy and my power to how I was going to beat it. The other another thing that I tried to do was just learning to stop and to breathe and to be in the moment, and to not say my world is falling down around me or all these things. I had to start learning how to just be grateful at times. And so I would take moment by moment and day by day, and I would take those things and I would work out of those days, and I would make my victories, and I would keep track of my victories that I had through my process each time. Each time I would try something new to beat anxiety, I didn't let it get me down. I just said, I'm gonna stay on it. I'm gonna keep working at it. Today was not the day, but tomorrow is my new day. And I think that was very big for me too, because if I would have taken the failures that I had on each new step I was trying to take and just quit, I wouldn't be where I am today. The next step of something I had to do was I had to learn to confront my thoughts. So each time that these thoughts, and if you've ever dealt with anxiety, it all comes in because of a thought. It comes in because of an experience sometimes of what we've had, a past experience of anxiety. We think, oh my gosh, I had this feeling before, it's gonna come on again. And we start playing over everything that's gonna happen in our mind before it ever happens. And so I had to learn to confront those thoughts and take them head on. And I had to learn how to change in new thought patterns. So in this stuff is, and I'm not giving you all the tools that I did yet, I'm trying to explain some of the parts of what we did. So, but I also learned is that one of the number one things I had to do in the whole process was that the first part I had to do was I had to change my state. So sometimes when we're in this part, we feel as a victim. I had to get rid of that. I thought of myself as the victor. I had to change my state. I would say it's kind of like if you've ever been to the gym and you've had a great workout, you're all pumped up and you feel like you're full of life and you're good. That's a state change. And so you change your state and you change your state of mind, and the way you do that. And I would change my state of mind by, as I said previously, by being grateful. So I started on a mission to say, I'm going to be grateful for whatever moment I am in. Doesn't matter whether it's financial, whether it's relational, whether it's just anything throughout your day. When things came at me, I had to learn to start being grateful for the things that I had around me and appreciate that. And what I found out and noticed was that as time went through and the more I was being grateful about everything, the more I started seeing that things change the way I look at things. You know the old saying where they say, change the way you see the things, you change the way you look at things, and the things you look at will change, right? And so that's what I tried to start doing, and I started doing that by being grateful on it. The second thing is I had to change my story. So I had a story of how I got into anxiety. And you look back in your story, and if I could probably give people through anxiety, through addictions, through anything like this, I would say go back and examine your story. Go back and examine your story, because what I did was I figured out all the little things that led me up to the position of having anxiety. I figured out some of the ways that I was thinking, some of the things in my life I was doing, and I figured all these things out. And so then what I had to do was I changed that story in my mind. I knew that that's what it was, and then I just started changing the whole process of that story. So I said, but that's not who I am. This is how my story should read. And this is the new me. This is how my story is going to go from here out. And then what you do is then you take strategies and then you apply it after you've done those 2 steps. After you've done those things, you can take your strategies now, and then you can move forward in building to getting to overcoming anxiety. What happens is sometimes people reverse that order. They think of strategies first, and then they think of the pain of their story, and then they think it's going to change the state at the end, their state of mind at the end. But you can't do it that way. You have to change it first in reverse order. You have to change your state of mind so you're upbeat, you're excited, you are on this mission, right? It's like people when they are on this mission to, lose weight, or they're gonna do this thing at work, or they're going to build all this muscle, or whatever it is. You have this state of mind that says, I can do this, I'm gonna do all this. And that's what you gotta start with first. Then, like I say, you change your story, and then you apply strategies. And the strategies I came up with, I came up with doing, I had to put all these strategies into place. So I would I'm gonna kind of give you an example here of some of the strategies. And I think that if you're listening to this, you've had anxiety, so you probably understand it before. But I needed something to use something. Prescribed medication is good. There's a time and need for everything. I am not saying anything about that. My thing was I had to take care of my anxiety in a specific way for me. And I knew I didn't have it before, and then I had it, and I knew I could see myself without it later. So I tried some natural remedies, and I got with my wife, and I tried to get through some stuff, and most of you probably, if you know my wife, you know that we are big believers in doTERRA essential oils. Our health stays safe. We don't get sick much when we do stuff and things. But I took some of the oils, and what I would do is I would take these oils and I would rub them on my wrist like this. Whenever I would feel like these moments coming on, or before I would get to these moments, I'd rub them on my wrist, and then I would breathe them in, because rubbing them on the wrist, they go into they get into your sensories, they get into your bloodstream, and they can change your mood. And by breathing it in, oils can change your moods. And what they do is they don't change it for like the whole day. They change it for a moment in time. And that's what I find is the biggest key to overcoming something, is using something that will help you on an as-needed basis. So that way you can really judge how you're growing. If I have something that depresses me or changes my behavior over a full time that I got to take every day, I'm not going to be able to judge or measure my success. And so doing this really, really helps. There was another thing too that we have, and it's oil in a pill form. And then this is awesome by doTERRA now. As I was coming through, we didn't have exactly this. This was something new that came out, but since I've used this, because I've tried to check it out and to see, it's called Adaptive through doTERRA, but you can take this at night before you go to bed, and it calms down your thinking, and it allows you to rest peaceful through the night, because it's proven that people with anxiety, anxious feelings, depression, all these things, if you don't get good rest at night, then you're tired, you're exhausted for the next morning. These things, it just compiles upon itself. So this has been really good. Like on nights that I feel like I really need to just calm down, I can take this. You can even take this in the daytime. Sometimes people do different. It's not something that changes your behavior. Some people might say, I've noticed through other things, somebody might get tired, some people don't. I don't get tired at all taking it if I take it in the daytime. So, but again, it's not something that you have to take all the time. It's something you can take with you. You can have just sometimes before night if you feel a little overstressed during the day. So these were some of the things that I just did. I did things like lavender baths, which were great things. There's different ones for women and different oils that you can take for guys and stuff based off of different balances and stuff that they use, and happy to share some of that information if somebody wants in the future, but it's not really for just right now. So, but I did several of those things to try to help calm myself down. But today is, I guess what I'm so excited about is I can say happily it's in my past. It's in my past. I've worked through it. I look forward for another vacation of some sort, going to Disneyland with my family or something, because I can handle it now. And I just guess I want to be an encouraging word for somebody if I can, just to let you know if you're struggling with it, you don't have to. You don't have to. And there's ways to beat it. And I think that if you can learn to empower yourself, you're happy to message me, email me, anything if you want to, and I'll be happy to share some of the deals. But another one of the things though that I want to say before I get off here though is after I learned to apply certain strategies, I had to listen to success stories of other people's. So I listened to other people's stories, and I would find stories of people that had been in the same place I was and they were out. So I could associate with those stories of success, right? And some of their stories reminded me. So as I was going through some of this, I remember I've talked about this in a previous video way before, but like simple thing of going to church is I'd have to sit on the outside row of the chairs in the sanctuary, because if I moved in any at all, I would start freaking out. So I'd start on the outside, and then one day I would tell my wife, I'd say, hey, let me set one chair in and see what that does. And if it worked, great. If it didn't, I'd get up, walk out. I'd go change my state of mind, think about something else, change my state of mind to where I got it out there and I got relaxed. I'd go back in, I'd sit in the outside chair. And then maybe the next time I come back, I start over and try again. I can sit anywhere in those lines. Just a couple weeks ago at church, I sat right in the middle of everybody. And I will admit, right at first, I started to have a little thought come into my head, but I changed it. And I had no problem. I sat through the whole sermon. It was a great sermon. Merle did a great job at church. So, but you take these little strategies like that and you don't give up. You just work it steps by steps. Being in the car, I'd let my wife start driving the car, and I'd sit in the side so I could get used to say, hey, I can do this. So I would just start picking those little things and these little strategies to do that. I would always make sure that I had the oils with me, so in case I needed something to make me feel better at that moment. Not having those with me would be bad, because now you set yourself up for some kind of disastrous moments a little bit. So as I did that, I don't need this stuff as much anymore. The pills here, the oils in the capsules, I do use these every so often, just because, like I say, I believe a good night's sleep is so important. So this I still use a lot. The oils on the wrist, I don't have to. Not that I don't believe them, I do believe them, because they're what saved my life as far as this stuff. And I say saved my life, it really did, because any of us that have with anxiety, it is a horrible thing to have to live through. So anyway, I try to give you some encouragement, hope that there's something you can gain out of this, and And I just wish everybody well, and have a great day. Thanks.